Hello, and welcome back to Hurdle the Line. This is your Week 8 review show. And for the first time, I believe since we started doing the review show 8 weeks ago, every single member of this podcast won a game.
Great news.
Congratulations.
Listen, me and Tom have been doing all the heavy lifting here. It's glad for you to finally chip in on this one.
You say use. I think you mainly mean me, but yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad to join the Victory Monday this week, boys. Happy to join the train and be on this happy ride of Victory Monday.
Ollie, don't worry. We're going to be giving you your just desserts today. We will be going into that game in depth. But with me today, guys, is Tom, and obviously super producer Fletch, and then the Browns fan, the man, the Cleveland. Oh, we got to get you a good nickname, the Cleveland Kid, Ollie. Everybody had a good weekend, as we just established. Y'all do anything? I know Fletch doesn't like Halloween. I think Tom doesn't like Halloween. Ollie, did you do anything Halloween themed this weekend yet?
I went to the pub and saw many people dressed in Halloween clothes, so I suppose I somewhat contributed to the Halloween spirit. I'm not one to dress up myself, but no. NBA is back. Obviously, my team won, so great weekend for me. Kind of watching the sports, chilling out.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Tom. Finally, we get something in the spirit. This is good. This is really good. For those of you listening, Tom just came back with a very scary clown Halloween mask, which is awesome. Or as they like to call it here for the American fans of the pod, fancy dress.
I mean, me and my wife went out on Friday night, just went out for a bit, and it ended up being something it wasn't a Halloween thing, but most people turned up in Halloween fancy dress. So there was that. So somewhat contributed.
Now, I just have to know because unfortunately this was a weekend where I was out a lot too. I had some friends in town from Los Angeles, and was good catching up with them. And but I noticed on the WhatsApp group that Fletch was watching football, pretty much injecting it into his veins from the beginning of
Yeah.
Saturday to who knows what time last night.
Yep.
How many hours of football did you record? And you did probably do. I'm sure you watched that Friday college game too, didn't you?
Little bit. So I was out Friday. Like I said I was out Friday night. I didn't get back in till probably about 1:30, 1:45. So middle of the afternoon. Just one of those kind of things where you don't get back until. So we had a bit of time to kill. Mrs. fell asleep. Like we walked in and she just basically crashed face first into the bed. So I sat there waiting. So yeah, maybe I did watch a little bit of college football that night as well. The but as far as number of hours goes, I'm gonna do the whole like the Jose Mourinho. I prefer not to speak. If I speak, I'm in big trouble, and I don't want to be in big trouble. So
Very nice.
I'm still riding the high. Kennesaw State won last week, so I am the only person who gives a crap. And we even have someone here who's from Georgia, from not far away from Kennesaw, and I'm still the only one that gives a crap. But still, so
Hey, I want all Georgia teams to float boats up, if you will. So, but you know what, guys? As we're all four of our teams won yesterday. That makes us winners. And you know what else is winners? People who play fantasy game day. And what's interesting about fantasy game day is they now, and this is breaking into our Break the Huddle news, they are our first podcast official sponsor. Yes, that's correct. We have our first sponsor. Congratulations, everybody! Yay! Sound like if you go and play Fantasy Game Day, which is on an app you can get on your phone, and you put in the code HRDLE. Am I right, Fletch?
HRDLE, yeah, hurdle without the U.
Hurdle without the U, or HRDLE. You'll be getting access to all sorts of fun stuff and also helping the podcast out. Fletch, what do we know about our new friends, best friends, I should say, at Fantasy Game Day?
Yeah, look, the times are exciting. FanDuel left the UK a few weeks ago, and since that, Fantasy Game Day has just exploded, which is amazing because one thing we're all about here at the Asleep at Work Network is promoting UK-based NFL stuff, and we want to be a huge part. Fantasy Game Day are the only The first and only NFL daily fantasy app exclusively for fans in the UK, created by fans in the UK. The concept is pretty simple. If you're not already familiar, when you sign up, you get the opportunity to compete in a variety of different daily competitions. These competitions vary in price, obviously, and vary in the cash prize at the end. So, well, the more you pay to get in, the more you could win at the end. You are not guaranteed to win anything. It's just, as we all know with betting. If you enter the competition, it's like fantasy football. You set your lineup, however you're given a budget. So you might get £50,000, and you have to fill out your lineup, very similar to Premier League fantasy football, where you have to kind of budget your whole team. That's your fantasy lineup, and whoever gets the most points that week wins the most share of the cash pot. So it's a mix between fantasy football and actual betting, and it refreshes every single time you play. So it's really fun. I used to do it a little bit on FanDuel. I've had a go the last couple of weeks, and when I say could win some money, I haven't yet, which is nasty. But the really exciting bit is, and believe me or not, this is genuinely exciting. When you sign up, if you use the code HRDLE, you will get once you import money, once you deposit some money and join one, you get a free £7.50 entry. And for our code, you get another free entry worth £7.50. So £15 worth of entry fees for free if you use our code. Not too much of a gamble there. You can have a bit of fun for free.
Fletch, I think you just gave those guys at Fantasy Game Day their money's worth on that ad read there. Good job. Remember, be responsible.
Yes.
Be good. It's just games. But please go and support the pod that way.
Yeah.
When the fun stops,
stop.
That's right. If I had stopped when the fun stopped with the Falcons, I would have been I would have been 1,000 years ago. Anyway, gentlemen, we did not in our pregame chat. We were so excited about Fantasy Game Day that we failed to talk about any news. Were there any major injuries? I know Jordan Love is one, the groin. And I don't think I looked earlier. I did not see there was any update.
I didn't see any updates about Jordan Love, but I have got one piece of news. The Chiefs are signing pass rusher Josh Uche from the New England Patriots for a conditional sixth round pick.
That's right.
So that was something. He was inactive for the game at the weekend. I was thought that a deal was being worked on, and then that's been completed with Ian Rappaport reporting it. So yeah, another depth piece on the D line for the Chiefs.
Christian Darrisaw's out for the season. Vikings left tackle, one of the best, young left tackles in the NFL. So big loss for them. Sucks for any NFL fan to see him go down.
That was a rough one.
I forgot about Stephon Diggs, knee injury.
Yeah.
Houston, Texas. Texans are just all sorts of beat up. Also, on the Falcons side, I forgot Chris Lindstrom got hurt yesterday. He's our best right guard. Ollie and I, guard gang. So that's not great for us, but I think the feeling is that he'll be okay. Looking through here, see if there's anywhere.
Some good news for Browns fans. I don't know if anyone here saw JOK's injury yesterday. Looked pretty scary at the time. Neck injury, was carted off, immobilized, taken straight to hospital. So really scary at the time. But we have had some positive news with JOK himself tweeting, all is good. So I'm assuming that means he's, avoided any kind of bad outcome from that. And hopefully it's just kind of a bad stinger that he had, and can, maybe take a week off and be back the week after.
And you had both Denzel Ward and Drake May as well, both leave their whatever games with
concussions. Yeah, then Denzel Ward suffered his sixth concussion in 4 years now. Obviously, It's always going to cause speculation about, should this player do this? But in the end of the day, I think it's, silly for fans to speculate. It's, only the player and their doctor know what is the actual severity of this stuff. So just have to hope for the best and wait and see.
Christian Kirk broke his collarbone, missed the rest of the season. There's a bunch of injuries this week, actually. So,
yeah, it was a lot of injuries.
Christian Darrisaw hurt his knee. I remember that. Yeah. And May is in the concussion protocol, as you said. Laundry list of Saints people. Don't see anything else quite major.
Saints are going to be holding like local tryouts in a couple of weeks, and just literally, if you can run, doesn't matter how fast, don't matter how tall, about whatever. 7 years old, come on, we just need
Fletch,
people.
Has your wife made any phone calls then? Yeah, is she going to try and sign up? Or?
Do you know? I'm trying to tell her to. I think
wide receiver / running back hybrid.
So I think my wife is former North Wales strongest woman, so I reckon she's shifty when she wants to be. Decent edge rusher.
Don't tell the people how many people live in North Wales, but especially women.
We'll put it this way: the woman who came second to her went on to be the world's strongest woman a year and a half later. So I'll still take it.
Wow.
So yeah, I'd take her as an edge rusher. I'd put money on her being a decent edge rusher.
Let's go. Shall we move on to the games, guys? Excellent. I texted everyone today and said officially the game of the week has to be Ollie's Cleveland Browns beating the mighty Ravens, who, in my money, are the best team in the NFL, I believe. Sorry, Tom. They win, but not after this game. They win. The Browns win 29-24. Jameis Winston coming in for the hurt and much maligned Watson, who was out for the season with Achilles tear. You know what, Ollie, I'm not going to give you all the stats. I'm just going to pass it to you. Tell me about this game. Tell me about this win, and how did they do it?
Yeah, awesome to finally, obviously, get back in the win column, end the 5-game losing streak. First and foremost, this was really cool to get a win on the weekend of Jim Donovan passing away, long-time Browns radio broadcaster. So, really kind of emotional moment for the Browns this weekend. So to get that win on top of it really made it, not a great weekend when you're talking about the passing of someone, but, made it a great moment on Sunday to get that win. Obviously, as you said, Chapman, the Ravens coming into this game, 5-game winning streak. They were averaging 35 points a game, 480 yards a game, and 228 rushing yards per game. So, going into it against a Browns team that's not been playing, well at all. Even as the most optimistic Browns fan, I was quite terrified of this Ravens offense. The first drive pretty much, showed me that they looked really, really good. But the Browns were able to get a massive 4th down stop on that opening drive, extend their streak of not giving up an opening drive score this season. And it kind of set the tone on defense for the rest of the game. And then the offense kind of slowly but surely was able to kind of catch up with the defense and actually, show some sign of life that we haven't seen at all this season. They scored over 20 points for the first time this season, which is just a crazy stat. Jameis Winston, the first Browns quarterback this season to have over 200 passing yards, 300 passing yards, and 3 touchdowns in a game. So just a night and day improvement on what we've seen at the quarterback position so far from the Browns. As I alluded to, obviously, the Ravens offense were really, really hot, averaging 35 points a game. The Browns held them to 24. They were averaging 230 rushing yards a game. The Browns held them and, Derrick Henry to 124. Other than his, I think it was a 38-yard run, Derrick Henry had 10 carries for 35 yards, I believe. So
Ollie,
really,
I'm going to stop you. Tell us why you won the game. Just tell us. Don't give me more stats. Tell us what happened, man. You've deserved this win. So tell me what happened, man. What was it? What was the magic? Was it Winston, or was it the team coming together? Was it the fans? What brought this team together to be literally a juggernaut coming into your building?
The obvious answer is obviously Winston. As I said, obviously the change at quarterback, this offense is the best they played all year. So that's obviously going to be the obvious answer. But I think it's as well. It's just the first time all season that this team has played complementary football. It's the first time we've got a good performance out of both the offense and the defense. I mean, you could even include the special teams in that as well if you want. So just essentially, it's just the first time that the team has actually played a complementary game of football all season. Yes, obviously the quarterback made a big difference in that, but I think the defense probably deserves the biggest shout out for me, holding this Ravens juggernaut offense to 24 points, as I said, and 124 rushing yards. So yeah, my answer would be the defense to that question.
We've heard all week, and I know on the chat you've taken issue with them, and I understand why. But we've been hearing, oh, Myles Garrett. They're not getting rid of Myles Garrett. Come on, not even just from a sensibility of his contract being would be an albatross if they traded him, but also you don't get rid of a top 5 defensive player, if not even a top 3, wherever you want to put him on that list. I know where you put him on, but you get my point that you can, who's young, and that you can continue to build a team around. Doesn't make any sense anyway. And they come out and they play this team. It was awesome.
So this is why. Look, I'm just saying, there's a team somewhere a little bit further up who can afford it, and they did have. Myles Garrett was second up until a couple of weeks ago, and then unfortunately Hutch went out. So just saying. I know it won't happen. I did say on Thursday on like 2 podcasts, it will not happen. But I'm just saying.
You're just saying what? I don't.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Let's ignore homie. This is why we only let producer Fletch on every once in a while, because it's the homerism that we can't have on this pod. All right. Also I saw that this is the first time. Funny, the last time a quarterback for the Browns threw for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no picks, it was Jacoby Brissett on 2022, and they still lost.
Yeah,
they won this one. They won this daggum one. So
yeah,
what a great win, man! And I think it shows that there's actually, we knew there was preseason. There was a lot of talent on this team, and there was just something off. And I think you kind of got your answer now. Is Winston going to be your long-term answer? No, but is he just good enough for this coach and possibly this defense to play around and mitigate? Possibly.
Yeah.
So, Tom, did you have any bits on this one?
Well, yeah, I thought it was the last 2 minutes of this game was nuts as well. I was messaging Ollie on it, obviously, when you got that touchdown, that was crazy. I was like, what is going on there? And then obviously the Ravens have a 2-minute drill, then it turns down to 5 seconds or whatever. And I was like, Howie, I messaged Ollie saying how are your nerves? And he was like, mate, I'm bricking it. I'm waiting for it to, and then when it
I've seen those moments too many times as a Browns fan, when you take the lead with a minute left and you're thinking, wow, and then it just in the back of your head, you're thinking there's still a minute left. It's Lamar Jackson. He was able to go down the field in, pretty much 30 seconds, set him up at about the 25-yard line, gave him a couple of attempts, obviously, to shoot the ball into the end zone. And obviously the Browns were able to hold on and get that win at the end. As you mentioned with the touchdown, the very play before that, Hamilton, obviously an all-pro, dropped a gift-wrapped interception from Jameis Winston. I mean, he threw it directly to him. I'm there ready to, start swearing at the TV, and that would have essentially been the game over. But thankfully he dropped it. And the very next play, Jameis Winston goes deep to Cedric Tillman. I don't think there's that many quarterbacks with a shorter memory than Jameis Winston that are straight after a play where they've nearly turned the ball over and lost the game, they're still willing to sling that ball. So it was really cool to see. Obviously, great moment for the Browns to get that win, and kind of a typical Browns way. It's never easy, but they got the win in the end.
Awesome. And I couldn't be happier for you or my fellow Browns fans. That actually, Ollie, you're my only Browns fan. But anyway, awesome game. I'm excited to see what's coming next for you guys. Ravens, while it's a tough beat, I don't think this is more of a speed bump for them than anything.
Yeah, but they're porous on defense though. As much as obviously the Browns play.
They're also very injured on defense.
But I'm talking about their pass defense has been really bad this season. It's not been he's not been to
They
the
were they were 28th ranked coming into this game,
Yeah.
and then they're now ranked dead last in the league in passing defense. Granted, as Chapman said, they were without Marlon Humphrey and Nate Wiggins in this game as well, which doesn't help. But yeah, I think that's definitely, if you're going to point to anything being your biggest concern with this Ravens team, it's definitely that secondary and that
You can
pass
throw on
defense.
them. You can throw on
Yeah,
them.
you definitely can. Yeah,
you can make it like a shootout because their defense isn't going to stop you throwing the ball deep, and so yeah, it's definitely worrying. But at the same time, obviously they're still 5-3. They're still going to make the playoffs, I imagine, unless there's a massive collapse. So yeah, it's just a bump in the road, I guess.
It happens. Most teams, I hear what you're saying, but I believe in the organization will be able to figure it out. Like they'll, now can they win in the in the playoffs? We'll see. But obviously that's their hurdle to get over. But when Lamar's been playing as well as he has the last couple of seasons, or the last couple of games, they are hard to beat. So we'll see. The next game of the week, guys, I picked was the finale that I know we've all watched on Twitter, or the final play that we've all watched on Twitter. It was the meeting of the number 1 drafted and number 2 drafted quarterbacks in this last year's draft. That is, of course, the Chicago Bears versus the Washington Commanders. The Commanders on a Jaden Daniels last second touchdown Hail Mary throw to I don't know what Brown's first name is.
Noah Brown.
52-yard Noah Brown. That's right, Noah Brown. 52-yard pass. Win the game. They steal it from the Bears, who had just literally 25 seconds earlier gone down and scored a touchdown to take a 15-12 lead and thought they had it all wrapped up. But Jane Daniels and Noah Brown had other thoughts. Guys, this game wasn't the heavyweight battle that we'd hoped. It was a lot of field goals and then, 2 touchdowns, one in the third, one in the fourth quarter before the Hail Mary. Both quarterbacks played fine, but not great. It was mostly a defensive battle, really. Did you guys get a chance to watch this one in the second slate of games?
Yeah, well, it's crazy because the Commanders led for something like 59 minutes and 23 seconds of the game in the lead. Obviously, they hadn't played well enough to put up a bunch of points, but they were holding the Bears at bay. Then the Bears get the touchdown. And then the thing I found the funniest was that young Bears defensive back Tariq Stevenson was waving to the crowd, being like, bye, the game's over, whatever. And then he's the one that tipped the ball, and then Noah Brown gets the touchdown.
He's going to be making a lot of apologies in that film room today. Just a horrible bit of tape to put out there of yourself, literally celebrating before the plays even happened, then realizing that they've actually got the chance to throw the Hail Mary, and then running towards the ball and tipping it to Noah Brown. Can't get any comically bad than that.
Yeah, I don't remember any football player having their back to the final play of the game like that ever. That I can. I mean,
I've not seen it.
I've watched a lot of football in my life, and I can't believe. I mean, to be honest, I was listening to the heed the call. Shout out to Dan and Mark. And Mark was saying that could be a cuttable offense depending on how good. I don't know who the DB was, but
he's really good. He is really good. Tariq Stevenson, he's he's really.
Well, he should be benched for at least first quarter.
That is egregious. Yeah,
it's bad. So this loss, I mean, what do we think about these two teams? I mean, they've had some highs and had some lows this season. Jane Daniels has obviously looked really great. Caleb has looked great at times after a little bit of a weird start. I know the tail is not going to tell for 7 more years on these guys anyway, but, these teams kind of feel like they could go either way right now. You know what I mean? They could possibly sneak in wild card, whatever, or they could, maybe go 5-3 the rest of the way or whatever it is, or 3-5, sorry. Maybe not Washington. They seem to kind of get better, but that was a brutal loss for the Bears. Do you have any impressions of these teams, or you're just are they just sort of
Oh, the
mediocre.
Commanders are really impressing me this year. I mean, they're currently sit atop of the NFC East. Something that I think if you had put money on that after week 8 being the case, then you probably would have won a lot of money. Really, really impressed with Jaden Daniels. He's surprised me even to an extent. I thought he was good, but he's even gone a lot past that. He's been excellent, even as a Caleb fanboy, as you guys know I was coming in. I'm not going to deny that Jaden Daniels has been the better quarterback this year. He's been night and day offensive rookie of the year so far. Caleb, as you said, Chapman has showed some signs. He made a few really good passes in this game, but I just think it's kind of similar issues as they've had the last few years with or without Caleb there. It just seems to be a lack of identity on offense. They just can't seem to really figure out what they want to do there. You don't get involved into any side of the Bears social media and you'll see them all calling for the offensive coordinator to be fired. It just seems that they can't, as I said, figure out what their identity is on offense. And that still hasn't changed now that they brought Caleb in. So it's just kind of if they can do that and where they go from there. But in terms of the Commanders, yeah, definitely, I've been really impressed with them and think they're going to be a tough team to beat, even come in the playoffs.
I'm gonna just say I don't think the Bears have beaten one good team yet. They beat the Titans week 1. With all due respect, it's the Titans. They beat a very, very beat up Rams team in week 4. Then they beat the Panthers, and then they beat the Jags. Like the losses have come to the Texans, the Colts, and the Commanders. They've not beaten a good team yet. All 3 of the losses, by the way, were on the road. They have not won on the road yet this season. So I think you're absolutely right to say we were staying for the season. And I remember Chapman, we've got you say look, we've all said they got given gave Caleb a great situation to walk into as a rookie. And do you know what? Great, they gave him some good wide receivers. They give him some good. But do you know what they haven't given him, which was actually the most important thing, which no one really thought of at the time? Didn't give him an O line. The O line has been terrible. Absolutely terrible. There've been some fantastic Renaissance paintings of just O linemen on the floor and Caleb running for his life. So, great. I think I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, I think Caleb Williams has drastically improved in the NFL. I think he's looked a lot calmer. He's got better decision making. He's got on the right page with some of his receivers better, which is great. But I still think they're in for a big learning. There's a big steep learning curve still coming for them, and if they continue like they are, especially on the road, I don't see them being a sneaky playoff team. I don't see them being because they're going to lose at home. That's going to happen at some point. They're going to play a good team at home, and it's not going to happen. The Packers, the Lions, maybe even the Vikings could beat them at home, but I don't know. I just think, yeah, I just think that there may be a bit not as good as the record suggests, but that's no hate to Caleb Williams either. So,
yeah, I think that they kind of are what I thought they were going to be. To be honest, I still think they go maybe 10-7, something like that. I don't know. I can see them pile up a few losses, but also continuing on that trajectory of Caleb improving. Obviously, that defense is legit. But yeah, I kind of agree with some of the sentiments of what Fletch said, that they haven't really beaten a complete team anyway. If they were to go out, I don't know who they're playing next week, but if they were playing
Cardinals on the road.
Oh, okay. So the Cardinals won this week, so
yeah,
fair play to them. But yeah, if they were to play like the Bills or something and then win that game, I would have more confidence and credence in that than the other wins that they got so far, for sure. They have to beat a good team, I think, in order to actually cement themselves. Whereas I think the Commanders, I agree with Ollie that I definitely think they're going to be a playoff team. I think 6-2, they're cruising right now, and that's obviously down to Jaden Daniels, but it's also down to his connection with Terry McLaurin, who seems to have been the forgotten man for so many years with all these terrible quarterbacks. But he's actually got a good quarterback and throwing him the ball, and he's making some incredible plays. So
scary Terry's back with Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, 100%. He's mossing people.
But on that sentiment as well, though, I think the Eagles have shown to be inconsistent at best. Nick Sirianni's got his ass on the hot seat, so
yeah,
we'll see what we see out with them. But they've shown to be inconsistent at best. The Dallas Cowboys are All I'll say is I'm enjoying it at the moment, watching the Dallas Cowboys suffer, and the Giants are. I think they get beat by half of the teams in the UFL at the moment on the day if they really wanted to. So I think not only could the Commanders be a playoff team, I think they could have a home game in the first round of the playoffs. So
I can see it.
It's their division, I think, to take at the moment. As long as if the Eagles carry on being inconsistent, if they figure it out, it's the Eagles. But
yeah,
Commanders going to give them a run for the money.
Well, maybe we should switch on. And I wasn't going to bring this game up next, but we can go ahead and just go to it. I mean, the Eagles are 5-2. They go in and pretty much just shut down the Bengals yesterday, and the Bengals season is now on like crazy life support. But anyway, the Eagles are quietly 5-2.
Yeah.
And I would say, and their only losses are, to Atlanta in a 1-point game, week 2, and then to a Bucks team, it was sort of a blowout in week 4. But and you could say, looking at this, maybe the only good team they've beaten so far is Green Bay, but that was week 1, and I'm not saying, and that was that game down in Brazil. But we'll see. I'm not ready just to crown the Commanders yet, though they do seem like they've got that. There's just something watching them. They got that special rookie quarterback coming in. Awesome season. Everything comes together, and they make the playoffs.
I also don't trust Cliff Kingsbury in the long term. So I do think this is kind of like what's the analogy in terms of something, strike while it's hot, because I don't think this is going to be sustainable for years going forward, because Cliff Kingsbury, he's in his whole time in the NFL has been figured out pretty quickly. He did in Arizona. I expect the same to happen with Washington within it. That's why I said I was so surprised, because I had faith in Jaden Daniels, but I didn't really have any faith in Cliff Kingsbury. But credit where credit is due. He has got that offense rolling this year. But as I said, I agree with you, Chapman. I'm not ready to crown them by any means, especially because of that, because I just don't trust Cliff Kingsbury, down the line.
Thinking about offenses, what is up with this Bengals offense? Because it just, one week it's great, and the next week it's just crap. A lot of it has to do with their running game, it looks like, which is non-existent. They let Joe Mixon go, obviously, and doesn't feel like they were really able to replace it, even though they had a couple of good games with Brown, but it just seems like there's just something going on. The Eagles defense had a day yesterday, and
still yet to figure the O-line out. Although they're still trying to figure that out pretty much ever since they've got there. But for me personally, I think the Ravens, the Bengals offense has got to, not to say overrated, just don't get me wrong. They've obviously been fantastic. Joe Burrow's amazing, and those receivers are amazing. But for someone that has watched them, obviously as a divisional opponent quite a lot, they have been quite a streaky offense during this kind of run they've had the last few years. They're a big play offense. They rely on chunk plays, but they don't really consistently move the ball. What they've relied on is having that offense paired with a defense that was able to put them in good situations and able to hold on. So I think for me, what the biggest thing this year has been, they've lost pieces on that defense. That's taken a huge step back, and now they're not able to kind of get the offense out of those situations. The offense are having to try and be consistent, but as I said, they've not really been able to do that. So if they're not having a good day, they just get blown out, kind of like what happened with in this Eagles game.
Yeah, you're right. Their defense can't bail them out of these situations anymore. Whereas before they were really good, especially against the run. They can't stop a cold anyway. But they've just been so susceptible on that side of the ball. They can put up as many points as they want, but if the defense isn't going to perform to a high level, then they're going to struggle to win these games. It also doesn't help when you got your second best wide receiver out in T. Higgins. Obviously, that has an impact, but still, even with that, like, you would expect them to perform better than they did. But the Eagles really took it to them, and they couldn't really respond. It looks, Jalen Hurts had a really good game. And then passing wise, he didn't have like an incredible game, but he had 3 rushing touchdowns. So he one of his better games this year. So yeah, for fair play to the Eagles, and yeah, obviously we're saying that the Commanders are playing well, but I'll be interested to see how the Commanders play. When they go to Philadelphia, maybe it's for the division, or maybe it's in the lead up to who is going to be one game ahead in the last few games or whatever. I'll be interested to see how they respond then.
Well, the Phillies have the Cowboys and then the Commanders their next 2 games. So, and then the Rams and Ravens. So we'll know a lot of that's a Cowboys not such a tough game, but that's in Dallas, so not a cakewalk per se. But we know Dallas is not having a great year, which we'll get to in a minute. Then again, like I said, the Commanders again in their own building, and then in LA, and then at Baltimore. So we'll know more in the next 4 weeks, sort of where we are with this team, with this Eagles team. Just also before we move on to the next game, Nick Sirianni shaved his head famously 3 weeks ago, and the Eagles are 3-0 ever since.
We'll also throw this in there though, that in a flip of the Bears, the Bengals have not won at home yet this season. We say what you want about being on the road, but if you can't win at home, that's really bad.
I mean, the Browns only lost to the Eagles by 4 points, and they got blown out by 20. So, just saying.
Yeah. Moving into, I guess we might as well just hit the rest of the NFC North now. So the Packers defeat the Jaguars 30-27. Another last-minute field goal, but the story of this game is obviously Jordan Love getting hurt. We get to see Malik Willis come in, win the game. This is the second week in a row where the Packers have won on a field goal, I believe, right after beating the Texans last week. This one was kind of fun. It was on Red Zone a good bit as I was watching the Falcons game. I did not get to see exactly what happened with Love. Did anybody hear on there? I know he had the issue at the beginning of the game, and then he ended up having to go out towards the fourth quarter, right? Or third or fourth quarter, was it?
Yeah, he injured.
Really got back.
He injured his
groin.
Yeah, so he had to come out, and obviously Malik Willis came in. But I didn't actually see it in real time. I've got to be honest, because I was watching it on Red Zone, and it's flicking back and forth and stuff. But yeah, obviously wish him a speedy recovery. Obviously, having had an injury previously this year as well, to come back from that, and we weren't sure what that was going to be like. So hopefully it's not a long-term thing for them. But yeah, it was a good game though. It was I enjoyed it. Obviously, Xavier McKinney got another pick as well. He continues his streak of he's got 6 picks this year, so he's having an absolute monster year. And that's crazy. I actually predicted that, so I'm just gonna say that. But yeah, that's cool. Don't have a lot more on this game. I mean, I'm interested to see what happens. I mean, I guess even though they're 2-6, we haven't heard anything about Doug Peterson being fired by the Jaguars yet. Feels like that's just that'll be the next shoe to fall at some point, right, guys?
They're waiting on the cannon. They're just going to fire him. They're going to fire him out of a cannon and get him as far out of Jacksonville as quickly as possible.
Not much more on this game, except I will say that the next opponent for Green Bay is going to be the vaunted Detroit Lions. It's in Green Bay. The Lions may be catching a lucky one here and not be playing Jordan Love, but we will see. All right, guys. We're going to take a break. I'm just joking. We're not that kind of podcast. All right. So the next game I had up on the schedule, as we say, was actually my team. We'll go there next. And that is the Falcons beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 31-26. These teams played 3 weeks ago on Thursday Night Football. It was a really fun game. It was one where Kirk Cousins threw for over 500 yards and had a walk, and Cordell Hodge caught a walk-off game-winning touchdown in overtime. This one equally had, while it did have some interesting defensive plays by both teams, a safety by Tampa Bay to get them close back in the game within 5 points in the fourth quarter. The Falcons picked off Mayfield twice, but were abhorrent on the defensive line. And that's a real concern if you're a Falcons fan, despite the offense now looking like it's a top 10 unit and it's gotten better every week. So hats off to both Kirk Cousins and Zach Robinson. I don't know if you guys heard, it was tight end day, National Tight End Day yesterday.
Yeah,
16 tight ends caught touchdowns, including, for the first time this year, I wore the Gradient rookie season Kyle Pitts jersey. Kyle caught 2. And if you happen to catch the second one, he got real lucky. And he learned a big lesson on that one, which is you don't celebrate a touchdown until you're in the end zone. This is football, NFL football 101. The only reason this game really matters is because the Falcons are up now 4-0 in their division. It's going to take, they're going to really have to screw up, which the Atlanta Falcons can absolutely do that. If to not win this division and make it in the playoffs for the first time in 7 years. But I will say, as a Falcons fan, it is really concerning the pass rush on this team. They just can't get against anyone. Judon has been a complete flop on the team, which is really disappointing after trading a third-round pick. So we might be looking at one of those Falcons. We're one of those playoff teams that may make it into the dance and then just give up, some god awful number of points to whatever team we have to face in that first divisional round, our wild card weekend, I guess it is now. Moving along, I don't know if you guys have anything on this game. Probably not.
I saw that Kirk Cousins became the first Atlanta Falcon to throw for 8 touchdowns against the same opponent in the same season. Obviously, having 4 in the previous game, as you mentioned, Chapman, 4 again this Sunday. So 8 touchdowns in 2 games against the Bucs for him. I'm sure he wishes he could play them every week.
Yeah.
Yes, and I do too. I wish we could just play the Bucs every single week for the next 7 weeks. It'd be great.
I was going to say for the Bucs though as well. They've lost 2 in a row now, I think. So they started off quite hot and they've kind of tailed off these last couple of games. Obviously, that's coincided with some injuries as well. With Chris Godwin going out for the rest of the year, and then Mike Evans now out to the Week 11 bye. But still, it's concerning for the Bucs to drop 2 in a row.
Yeah, Baker was not himself, clearly. I mean, Mike Otten had a really good game. So also on the Titans Day, he was doing everything he wanted to.
Yeah, K. Otten,
K. Otten to this Falcons defense. He's a stud. If you had either one of those tight ends in your fantasy this weekend, you're probably pretty happy. But Baker looked. He was really pressing, man. And it just seemed like he just towards the end of the game, he started playing hero ball. And I mean, he had that pick to AJ Terrell. I mean, AJ just knew exactly what he was about to do because he had thrown that pass earlier. And
as someone that watched him for 4 years, it is something he did tend to do quite a lot. He does always seem to always resort back to that, but still had a good game other than the picks, I suppose.
Yeah, and again, the defense was, the Falcons, not to go too long on this, but the Falcons really, the great thing is, like, we've been wanting to see this offense with all these players for a while, and it really seems like it's starting to click now. It's really clear that Bijan Robinson, even though he didn't have like a flashy day, like watching that dude get away, he had an awesome touchdown where he catches the ball, a defender comes right at him, and he just pulls a little up move, and the guy goes right by him, and then he walks in the end zone. Please find it on Twitter if you can. It's great. And he's also just getting more yards after contact. So, we'll see how it just keeps building. But like you said, if you've got to play defense come December in January in the NFL. And if you can't get to the quarterback, and your D line can't rush, it's gonna be tough sledding. I've got a stat for you guys for this next game. There's been 751 games where a team has scored 20 points, didn't turn the ball over, and only allowed 250 yards in a game. Only one of those teams has lost that game, which happened yesterday. And that was the New York Jets versus Karl's mighty New England Patriots. Final score is 25-22. I don't have a lot on this game except for these two teams are now both 2-6. We're not going to see them in the playoff. It's a huge disappointing season for the Jets. I think for New England, great, you get to beat one of your rivals. You think Drake May's looking okay until he goes out with a concussion, but honestly, I think on this one too, the Jets, it was the defense. Funny enough, which was supposed to be the vaunted part of this, this team, is just letting them down, and it's going to be probably a pretty frustrating year for.
I was going to say, I think Sauce Gardner gave up like the big play that then led to the touchdown, or something, like the one where they got down to like the 6-yard line or something. The Patriots, I saw like he was the main one covering on that. So yeah, exactly. This vaunted Jets defense, couldn't get it done in this one, and their season continues.
To be a living hell.
I said it all off season, and I said it this year. I'm personally thought that the Jets have been massively overrated on defense. Don't get me wrong; it's not that I'm saying that they're a bad defense, but everyone's was throwing up the whole they're the best defense in the league and all of this kind of stuff. And I completely disagreed with that and pushed back on it. And I'm glad that it's kind of finally showing on the kind of the national stage now. But for me, just my takeaway from this game was just shout out to Jacoby Brissett. Obviously former Browns 2022 legend, massive third down completion that he had to Butte to pretty much set up, to win them the game essentially, and did put him in position to win that game. So yeah, shout out to Jacoby Brissett, obviously beating everyone's favorite quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. So shout out to him. I think he made a lot of people happy this weekend.
Not a lot of love for Aaron Rodgers on any of my NFL WhatsApp groups today. Yeah, I don't think we got to talk too much more about this, though. It is interesting again to note that May left pretty early with a concussion. We all knew that New England Patriots offensive line is not great, and they put him out there, and hopefully he's going to be okay. But yeah, two bad teams playing each other. One of them won. Though I would say I think it's if you're a New England fan, your arrow is probably pointing slightly up, depending on how you feel about the coach, but at least from a quarterback and some other standpoints. And I think for the Jets, you're probably after this loss even further pointing down. Awesome. So where should we go to next, guys? I guess we should go ahead and he's spinning over there in the corner just here. And just finish out this NFC North, where, the Lions have now put up 250 burgers in one season, which is just insane. They beat the lonely Titans 52-14. I almost said Titans, but that is not for me to say. That is for another awesome podcaster to say. This wasn't an amazing game on your offense. In fact, I got a little tidbit here. The Lions were minus 191 yards in yard differential and still won by 38. That's a pretty amazing feat.
Didn't Goff only throw for like 85 yards or something the whole game? Like it was nice.
Yeah. Fletch, what do you got for us? You want to tell us anything exciting about this one?
Yeah, look, at the end, I think it's quite exciting because little other stat for you. Since week 4, the Lions have more offensive touchdowns than they have incomplete passes. And you say there about the yardage. I'll go through a couple of bits on this game, and nothing too in depth, but it was all down to special teams and defense. Special teams and defense ran this game. Not to say our offense wasn't great, don't get me wrong, but it does help when you've got virtually no field to go down. So we had 8 scoring drives, 7 touchdowns, 1 field goal, and the yardage for each of those drives: 23 yards, 70 yards, 25 yards, 12 yards, 22 yards, 9 yards, 26 yards, and 48 yards. And the only one where there was a field goal was the 48-yarder, which was at the end of the third quarter. So, I mean, yeah, the stat for minus 191 is wild, but when you put up nearly 250 yards on special teams, and when your defense was catching interceptions and bringing it back to decent yardage, and Kirby Joseph caught a great interception, brought it back to the red zone, your offense doesn't need to do much. They just need to punch it in, and that's what they did. It's, one of those kind of games.
What I love about this Lions team, and outside of this week, is the first time I really haven't watched a Lions game, had the Lions game, or been engaged with it. Is that this is a really complete team, man. You've seen them win from offense, as you say. The offense has been, when it's clicking, it's great. And then also when your offense isn't clicking, you're still, granted it's the Titans, but you're still winning 38 points with special teams and defense. Hats off to the Lions. And I think the thing I like about their team the most is just how complete they are at all sides of the ball. And good coaching, good special teams, great defense, great offense. It's really good to watch. And the other thing I think that is also really good, for throw back to you, Fletch, sorry, is that you're in the arguably one of two of the best divisions of football, and you're going to be battle tested come January. It's not like you're getting creamsicles each week. I don't even know what a creamsicle is. It's because of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers uniforms yesterday. Sorry, but that's got to be really exciting.
Yeah. And one thing that's nice for me, I guess, is against the Cowboys when we humiliated them in their own backyard in front of Jerry Jones's face on his birthday, which I still like to bring up. Hendon Hooker got to come out because you're that far up. Hendon Hooker got to come out again yesterday, so we're now giving our backup quarterback actual NFL reps in real games, which is really, really nice to get in. And one other little fact on that one that I figured out before, the Detroit Lions have had 5 different players complete passes for them this season. Jared Goff and Hendon Hooker, obviously, but Jack Fox, our punter, has also thrown and completed a pass. Amon-Ra St. Brown has also thrown and completed a pass, which we saw the other week. And now David Montgomery has thrown and completed a pass. Fun little fact for you, he was a quarterback in high school, so he can throw a ball. I think that's quite fun. And look, when Goff is having an off day, one thing I think everybody can agree within the league at the moment is there's one man you want to lean on when one part of your offense is having a bad day. It's Ben Johnson and his play calling. The man has everything to bring out. He's a genius. So when one thing isn't working, he's got about 1 billion tricks to bring out and make happen. So I think that's the best bit for me, is there are that many parts in that offense doing so much heavy lifting, and they're more than happy to do it when someone else isn't or is having a bad day, and it's just great to see all around. And obviously, per PFF, we have the best ranked defense in the league. I don't necessarily fully agree with it, but per PFF, it's the best ranked defense in the league.
That's like PFF saying that the Browns have the number 1 run defense in the league, which I massively disagree with. So they do have some questionable formulas over there, but we still love the guys over at PFF.
Great job, PFF. Next week we get to see the Lions play again, Green Bay, in Detroit. That'll be a great game. That'll be a must see. So very excited about it. I knew I missed one of the games in our second tier, and I apologize on that. But we also saw a very weird game from second-year quarterbacks, and sort of mirroring the game from the Bears-Commanders game. It was Colts-Texans in Houston. Anthony Richardson versus CJ Stroud. Texans triumph 23-20. I think the dialogue around this game mostly is about Anthony Richardson just looking not great yesterday. And as somebody who watched a lot of his Florida tape, I can tell you I'm not really surprised. He is still very young, but he did not wow me in college. And he's got a big arm, but man, he at one point took himself out of the game yesterday, and explained to reporters after the fact that he was tired from running in the previous play. Just quite interesting. I maybe would have never said that to the reporters, even if it was true. I got to watch the end of this game. I don't know if you saw the last drive. They're driving down, and he would 40-ish seconds, somewhere in that thing, goes running in the middle of the field and try to get down with no timeouts.
Yeah.
Wastes like 20 seconds, they were in a position where they could have possibly gotten the yardage and attempted at least a pretty decently long field goal, but something to give them a win. But he just totally blew kind of the game management at the end there. And you got to know if you're running like they got to go out of bounds. It's more important about saving time than it is about getting yards at that instance. But CJ Stroud is had some good games this year, but not lighting the world on fire as of the last couple of weeks. But they're still 6-2.
Yeah, I mean, the sophomore slump is real for CJ Stroud at the moment. It seems like obviously he's still had some good games, but in general, he's not quite lighting the world on fire as he was last year as a rookie. But as you said, at the end of the day, the win is that counts. And the Texans are still 6-2. Obviously, they lost Stephon Diggs as well to an injury. It didn't look like a good one. That could be a long-term one. I bet they can't wait for Nico Collins to come back because they've missed him massively in that receiving core. But at the end of the day, they're still 6-2. So yeah, fair play to them. But you're right. I mean, it doesn't really send a good message to the rest of your team, your teammates quitting on the game, quitting on your team. Like, you're supposed to be the franchise guy. You're supposed to be the guy that sets the example. And you going off saying I'm tired, it shows that lack of commitment or lack of leadership or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't exactly paint the picture that you want from your franchise QB,
especially on a drive that you need you're losing the game and you're trying to get back in the game. You're driving down the field and you just take yourself off and put Joe Flacco in, who's not even warmed up and doesn't even realize what's going on and is 40 years old. It's just incredibly, as you said, it's a bad look. Me and Tom have been big, we were big Anthony Richardson guys. We had quite a lot of, not faith in him, but we believed in the upside, and he's not done anything to, back up that faith that we had in him. Under 30% completion in this game. I don't even want to look at what his completion percentage is on the season. I doubt it's very good. As Chapman said, he's inaccurate. He just can't seem to process, and it's just not looking good for him. Through 2 years so far.
Yeah, I saw a stat on the Ringer on their online. Their weekly winners and losers, and I'm going to pull it up really quick. It was something like Anthony Richardson. Here it is. Anthony Richardson ranks 222nd in completion rate, 50% among the 225 quarterbacks with 250 dropbacks since the year 2000. So he's the lowest rated quarterback in completion rate in the last 24 years of any quarterback.
That includes Jamarcus Russell. That includes some pretty bad quarterbacks that we've seen. As I said, you can have all the upside in the world in terms of the physical traits, but if you can't be an accurate passer and you can't process, then there's not really much use for any of that anyway. So he's got a lot to, rein in and figure out. He's slowly, he's quickly running out of time. Quarterbacks don't seem to get as much time nowadays.
Here's some names. So right ahead of him is Ryan Leaf. Right below him is Tim Tebow. Mike McMahon for the I can't say that guy's Mike McMahon, not McMahon, but McMahon.
If you're on a list with Tebow and Leaf, then sorry.
Well, do you remember Achilles Smith for the Bengals back in the day? LA. Remember Jamarcus Russell surprisingly is on this list, and he's number 217. So he's, Ryan Lindley. I remember Curtis Painter, man.
I'm sure there's a few Browns on there, so let's stop reading off the list and before we get into all those Browns quarterbacks.
Well, they might be up further, so you can't feel too bad about it. But anyway, So the Colts lose that one, and they're 4-4 now.
He has Shane Steichen did say in his press conference today he didn't commit to Anthony Richardson being the starter. He said they're going through all the processes in terms of deciding on that decision. So we might see a quarterback change in Indy this week.
That's crazy. I'm gonna go through a couple of other scores here. You guys tell me if you want to chat about any of them. The Arizona Cardinals defeat the Miami Dolphins with the return of Tuna, 28-27. New Orleans loses to the Chargers, 26-8
That
in
was a terrible
LA.
game.
Terrible, yeah.
I didn't bench him, but I did not start McConkey for
Good touchdown from a country.
DJ Moore. Yeah, he scored points.
You also beat me in fantasy though, Chapman. So congratulations.
Thank you, sir. The Buffalo Bills destroy the Seahawks 31-10. Denver beats Carolina 28-14. Weirdly enough, I saw some of this game when I was like hazily falling asleep, but Carolina showed some fight in this game despite the score. And then finally, Tom, I'm sure you want to talk about this. The Kansas City Chiefs going to 7-0, beating the Las Vegas Raiders 27-20. We have one more game that we actually do need to discuss, but let's get into this. Kansas City 7-0 now. How you feeling, Tom?
Yeah, obviously.
Besides great.
Yeah, I mean it's we're still the only undefeated team in the NFL. Just keeping finding on ways to win, which is what you want from a good team. So Mahomes looked a lot better in this game. Obviously, I know he had a pick, but that was off a tip ball when he was throwing it in the end zone, and that was fair play from the Raiders. But it was I feel like the Chiefs had control of the majority of the game. Obviously it was a 1-score game in the end, but I think we were up by 2 scores and then they scored a touchdown and we just kind of played it out. But it was a really good game for Kelsey. He seems to have a bounce back game. Obviously he had a touchdown on National Tight End Day as well, so that was nice to see. Mahomes threw a touchdown for the first time in a while, so that was nice. But yeah, pretty like not an amazing performance, but a good enough performance to get the win. And the defense did play pretty good. So Chris Jones is having a really good year, as is George Karlaftis. But
what's this, Tom? The 168th consecutive win over the Raiders now, or
something like that? Yeah, I mean Mahomes is 11-2 against the Raiders in his career. So
I'm surprised there's even a loss on that, to be honest.
You're 6-0 in Allegiant Stadium since it opened.
What you mean Arrowhead West? Yeah,
and including the Super Bowl. Here's a great stat. So Patrick Mahomes, who's joined fellow future Hall of Famers Tom Brady and Peyton Manning as the only quarterbacks with at least 3 12-game winning streaks, including playoffs in their storied careers. And the Chiefs become only the 7th reigning Super Bowl champions to go 7-0 to start their following season. And finally, Mahomes is the fastest man ever to reach 30,000 career passing yards, needing only 103 games to clear the benchmark, 6 fewer than Matthew Stafford. It's a pretty rarefied air there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, you just said
you can at least say that's really cool, Tom.
I mean, their numbers at this point, he's good. He keeps getting all of them. So, but yeah, obviously, I'm happy about it. So yeah, long may it continue. 30,000 plus yards, incredible.
Yeah. I apologize, guys. I usually have this all written out, and I did not. This is why I love pen and paper. The one game I forgot was the lowly Dallas Cowboys losing to the Niners 24-30. This game was in Levi Stadium up in San Well. It's really in the Bay somewhere, but whatever. Santa Clara, wine and cheese country is wine and. What did you say? What did you say about Arsenal fans that one time, Fletch? Quinoa. You said we all eat quinoa.
Quinoa, yeah.
Yeah, quinoa. We're just eating quinoa at the stadium. I can guarantee you that's not the truth. Anyway, any thoughts on this game? Cowboy season over. What are we thinking, guys?
I didn't watch the game. I'm afraid it was the Sunday night game, wasn't it? And I was in football. In football, what am I talking about? I was in bed before the football, so I wasn't able to watch it. Obviously, saw the score in the morning. Saw some of the highlights. Saw Ricky Pearsall get a 38-yard run, I think it was, Great to have a moment, obviously, after the kind of awesome comeback story he had after being shot in the off season. So that was cool to see. But other than that, I can't really comment too much about the game itself. But obviously, regarding Dallas, yeah, I mean, they're pretty much. Are any of us surprised? I think we all kind of thought this was how their season was going to go. It was kind of boom or bust anyway. So, and it's kind of taken that, that more of a bust way down. Obviously now they've signed Dak and they need to figure out how to pay Micah Parsons. So that's, I think, their priority rather than winning anything substantial this season.
Yeah, I mean, it was a decent performance from the 49ers. Obviously, they needed to come and get a win after having they play quite inconsistent so far this season. Obviously, injuries haven't helped as well. But I think they're tied for the lead in the NFC West. But they've obviously, I think they've beaten the 49ers, haven't they? So they lead the NFC West at the moment. But they've both got 4-4 records. So and the Rams are on their tail as well, having won against the Vikings as well. But yeah, a pretty good performance, a decent performance from Brock Purdy. And yeah, I mean, the 49ers just continue to own the Cowboys, and yeah, the Cowboys don't beat good teams. So, I mean, they're kind of who we thought they were. As Ollie alluded to, it doesn't help when you got to a backfield that would have been great in 2017, but is absolutely washed now. So
it's funny, if Aaron Rodgers was a football team, he'd be the Dallas Cowboys. So take that for whatever you want it to be. I didn't get to watch either. I picked up some of it this morning. I saw more about the after game stuff than I did actually see about the game. But anyway, we're not going into that. I mean, like, what I've seen of the 49ers this year, they don't scare me. There's just nothing, it just doesn't seem to be. Bill Simmons likes to say they're the year from hell team, which I think I may have mentioned in our last podcast. But you have a player get shot right before the season gets started. You lose, your star player has been out the entire season pretty much. And you're right. Brock Purdy has played decently well, but when he plays poorly, the team just goes whack. And the defense is, it's fine, but it's not a world beater at this point. So, but yeah, like you said, on the other side with the Cowboys, man, I'm just surprised Zimmer still has a job. I mean, that guy took over a pretty good defense, and it's just like,
well, he's got. It's the last year on his contract. I think I suppose at this point, what's the point of even sacking him? Just let him see it out, I suppose, and then move on and hire a new coach in the off season.
Well, they got him. They got him off the season, remember? Because Dan Quinn was there before.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, but I mean,
did DeMarcus Lawrence or Micah Parsons play? Because I know that they both were injured in the lead up to. Did they actually play in the game, or do we know?
I don't see Parsons on the stat.
I don't think Parsons played. I don't know about Lawrence though.
Yeah. Either way, yeah. I mean, it wouldn't have mattered anyway. I think they would have beaten them, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't help when you don't have two of your premier pass rushers out. So yeah.
Well, I mean, it looks like that even though they still don't have McCaffrey, it looks like this game is pretty much won on the round. Kittle did have a good game, 128 yards, a touchdown. Also, CeeDee Lamb had an awesome game. Caught 13 balls for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns, but just, Dak threw two picks too, and addition to those 2 touchdowns to CeeDee Lamb. I like CeeDee Lamb. I kind of want CeeDee Lamb to get out of there, even though I know he just resigned. But
yeah, I mean, it's I saw that meme of it's like Dak Prescott in garbage time, and it was it was Tom Brady like in these last minute drives and stuff, and that's what he's like. When it's mop up duty and you're down multiple scores, then he can absolutely light it up on the scoreboard. But the fact you're already down by 2 touchdowns or whatever, this kind of takes away from it. So yeah,
there you go. Well, that wraps up the game review part of this part of the pod. Just so everybody knows, so this is week 8, guys. Next week will be week 9. When you guys come back, I'm going to give you a little homework. I'd like both of you, Fletch, if you want to do this as well. I want everybody to do their power rankings, top 10 power rankings, so that we can compare it in the week. We're about halfway through, so we're going to do our official Hurdle Line power rankings together as we're at the end after we review our games. We can reveal. We're not going to share them with each other. We'll reveal them on camera on the pod.
Top 10 worst teams, you mean? So I can include mine, or top 10 best, or
just
top 10 best. Top 10
best.
best. All right, cool.
I just been reminded Vikings.
In the powerless rankings, are they?
Yeah, it's power rankings. Vikings Rams was a Thursday night game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But, am I correct? Yeah.
But the other they didn't talk about it, did they? Right? Would they?
Oh, they recorded. Well,
we recorded that before the game. So
yeah.
I see. Good shot. So the Vikings lose to the Rams. The Rams, 30-20. This was in LA. I did watch a lot of highlights of this one, but it feels like it was 2 weeks ago instead of 4 days ago. I do. This Rams team is feisty, and they're not going to get knocked out. I think this was a hiccup game for the Vikings. Though I believe, is this 2 losses in a row now for them after starting 5-0?
Yeah, they're starting to tail off a little bit. Had a few injuries now, as we mentioned earlier. Obviously, losing their left tackle for the season. Sam Darnold's plays regress slightly. So we're trying to see if they can steady the ship.
One thing about the Vikings, which I will say, I heard earlier this week that there's been an illness that goes around the NFL this season called the Honolulu Blue Flu. They were suffering from it at the weekend. It is currently unbeaten. No team has won when catching the Honolulu Blue Flu, so it's just one of those things, unfortunately.
Who does the Titans play next week?
Patriots, so it could be defeated at some point.
I think we might just get it defeated next week, but you never know. The Patriots just beat the Jets.
No, but this is a really impressive performance from the Rams. Obviously, getting back both Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. And
four touchdown performance.
Yeah, well, there'd been trade discussions around Cooper Kupp. Whether he was going to stay there. Obviously, he'd been there his whole career, but when they're middling and his contract's a lot. So I know that they'd fielded calls. They hadn't made calls, but they'd had people inquiring about whether he was available. And then for Matt Stafford to put on that performance with both of those guys, through 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. I think Kyren Williams, he scored another touchdown as well to continue his streak, I think, eventually. But it was really, really impressive performance from the Rams. Obviously that final call was pretty egregious, with the face mask in the end zone.
Yeah.
Because it was very clearly a face mask, but
we have one every week, though. I mean, every week in the NFL,
and people make it out like they were going to just easily go 97 yards down the field anyway and score. Like it's not like, oh my god, they cost them they've still had to go 90 plus yards. Granted, of course, you want to see the correct call be made, of course, but I do think it got blown up a little bit out of proportion.
I mean, against the Rams, I'm not that asked if the Vikings, I'm not that asked if they make the right call or anything. To be fair, that's fine. One thing I will say,
we always want the right call. Doesn't matter who the opponent is.
Yeah. No, we don't. I want the game to be rigged in my favour.
We want the right Fletch. We want good officiating. Boo.
Okay.
We want good officiating.
Oh yeah, I heard you the first time.
Do you want to hear it the third time?
The thing I was gonna say was, the thing that annoyed me after the game was the referee saying it wasn't a reviewable play. It was a scoring play. It was reviewable. So I don't know where they've got that from, but that wound me up a little bit because it was a blatant lie by the officiating.
It was a safety.
It's a safety.
Yeah, but does a safety count as a scoring?
It does count as a scoring play.
It should technically count as a scoring play, but
it does. We get access to the 2024 NFL rule book, the official one, and in that it simply states that a scoring play includes a safety. So
it's just funny because they said they didn't get a clear look at it, and then you see the ref like right in front of the play, just miss it or something. Like I don't quite understand
Well,
that part.
Fletch, as you read the rule book, I do have a very, very quick question for you. In the Browns game yesterday, there was a catch by Njoku, right? That
yeah,
was quite clearly a catch, but the replay assist came in and said no, it wasn't a catch. What would happen if we had challenged it? Because
no one cares. It was the Browns.
oh well, that's just rude.
That's not nice.
Yeah, that was rude. Come on.
I didn't see the play.
Oh, fine, no worries, Mister. Oh well, look, we made one NFC Championship game. Now we're better than everyone else. Just let everyone know how many wins Michigan have got this year, mate.
All right, let's move along. I love Halloween. It's my favorite holiday. And I had a great question that I've totally just. I've got it. All right.
It's fine. We're all put off by the rudeness that Fletch just displayed. I mean, it's fine. We're all a bit on the edge.
No. Okay, so my question to you guys is: what is the scariest thing that could happen to your football team for the rest of the year?
Deshaun Watson somehow repairs his Achilles by next week.
That's the kind of answer I want. Some supernatural power comes, repairs Watson's, and he comes back and continues to play like he has the last 7 weeks. That's a good one, Ollie. Great.
I got one.
Yeah,
I got one. What's his name? He was the Bears coach. Matt Nagy suddenly wakes up and realizes he thinks he's in charge of the Chicago Bears offense of 2018 or whatever, and the Chiefs regress massively. And
what you've seen how many picks Mahomes thrown? He's already running the offense.
Look, if not, well, then Mahomes going out for the rest of the season would obviously be a killer. So yeah,
touch wood that doesn't happen. Let's not be jinxing. Let's not be jinxing stuff like
that. Excellent answer. For me, it would be that Kirk Cousins gets caught up in some sort of weird swag cult, leaves the team, just cashes out, and then the ghost of Joey Harrington / Byron Leftwich / whatever, how many quarterbacks we had this season that Mike Vick got arrested, and I'm watching that for the rest of the season, capped with Desmond Ridder coming in anytime there's a red zone play, just to throw pick sixes. That would be that'd be the scariest thing for me.
I thought you were going to say what do you call him for the Steelers now? Arthur Smith sneaks back into the game and barricades himself. So he's the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, and he just instead of giving the ball to Bijan, he just throws screen passes to our backup tight end and or our fourth string.
Yeah, but they won't expect that. They won't expect that, though, Chapman.
Game, so.
Actually, the Falcons, here's the thing. The Falcons, probably the scariest thing is the Falcons just start not rushing. They just stop rushing anyone on third down on defense. They just all go back. And Jimmy Lake is like, I'm a genius.
Prevent,
prevent defense across the board.
You've heard of rush free. How about rush none?
Yeah, there we go. Well, we're basically doing that right now. It's basically rush nine. I mean, they're phantom rush.
They're just cones out there.
And Ollie, surely your nightmare would be that Myles Garrett does actually get traded, right?
You see, that wouldn't even be a nightmare, because at least nightmares have some sense of reality in them.
Fletch, any fun spooky? No. All right. Well, anyway, Halloween is in exactly 4 days. Sorry, it's on Thursday. We're recording on Monday night here in the UK. So wishing everybody who celebrates, who has fun, a happy Halloween, and may Kirk Tobler bless you even more into November. Guys, thanks so much for joining me tonight. Joining us, as I mentioned one more time, we do have an official sponsor now with Fantasy Game. Am I getting this right, guys?
Fantasy Game
Day app. please use our code HRDLE. It's Hurdle without the U. Thanks so much for Fletch for setting that up for us. It's been great talking to you guys. I mean, obviously, I'm going to say Hurdle that pumpkin. That's good, Tom. I was actually going to say Hurdle that sponsor, but let's hurdle the sponsor and the pumpkin.
And the pumpkin, yeah.
All right, we'll see you guys. Week 9 coming up. We got the preview team on Thursday, as we always. The pod come out on Friday. All those guys doing a great job as well, and we will see you next Monday/Tuesday for the pod listeners. It's Hurdle the Line.